Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Badgers Burrow. In today's video, we're going to be going over Conference Championship Week in the NFL. We had two big games. We have an even bigger game next week, and I'm not going to waste any time. If you guys do go on to enjoy the video, please consider liking the video and also subscribing to this channel. I'm trying to get my numbers up, trying to grow this channel, so all the support helps. Also, leave a comment down below your predictions for next week's Super Bowl, the week after that Super Bowl. Hope you guys enjoy. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for the 8th wonder of the world, NFL Weekly Recap, here on the Badgers Burrow YouTube channel. And I'm not going to waste any time. We're going to hop right into Lambeau Field. We got Buccaneers at Packers. I'm going to do this weekly recap a little bit differently, especially for this game. I'm not going to be going through kind of like the chronological order of the game, how it played out. I'm going to mostly be talking about key points. And I'm going to start out by saying there was not 1 second in this game where the Packers deserved to win the game. They were, I wouldn't say dominated, but they were the worst team for 60 minutes of that football game. The Buccaneers get the opening drive score, which is, it's weird to say, but that's a rare occurrence for this team. They usually don't score on their first drive of the game. So, being able to get out there early and make an impact is huge. Leonard Fournette was exceptional on this drive. And in this entire game, we'll talk about him a little bit later. But the Buccaneers were able to, just start out quick. And then that's what you got to do. You got to start early against a team with as much offensive firepower as the Packers have. Speaking of that offensive firepower, Aaron Jones was not exceptional for the Packers. And, I kind of hinted at it last week. The Packers were going to need to rely on their running game to open up their play-action game. And they really couldn't. We all know the Buccaneers have the best rush defense in the NFL. And, they were able to dominate the line of scrimmage. Jones was pretty much a non-factor, especially after he got hurt. But he wasn't much, while he was actually in the game. It was extremely disappointing for a Packers offense that really stuttered, here in the Conference Championship because they couldn't rely on their play-action game as much as they usually do. And, that's a great credit to Todd Bowles and the defense he drew up. He coached these guys well, stop the run, adapt to the pass. And, their pass rush was exceptional. The Packers, they have 3 All-Pro linemen. They do. One of them was hurt, however. And that is where, that's where the Buccaneers took advantage. David Bakhtiari, obviously, out for the year. Billy Turner comes in. Jason Pierre-Paul has a field day. The Buccaneers have 3 sacks early. At least one is Pierre-Paul. At least one is Shaquille Barrett. But, for an O-line that has 2 All-Pros, you got to keep Rodgers up a little bit more. He was pressured a lot. He was forced to make throws, forced early to make throws, and that's not good for Aaron, You want to have time in the pocket so that he can use his mobility a little bit, get outside of the pocket, extend the play, and then find the guy he's looking for. But, he really didn't get that opportunity because the Buccaneers' front 7 was exceptional. Obviously, they convert on the big play to Valdez-Scantling, who hangs on to the ball. He's obviously had drop issues among a plethora of Packers receivers with that same problem. But, he hauls it in, sheds the tackle from Carlton Davis, and he is gone. But the Packers' offense wasn't exceptional, and their defense really didn't do them any help. Wow. The Buccaneers dominated this game. They were exceptional on third down. I think there was maybe only 3 times where the Buccaneers did not convert on third down, which is a true testament to everyone on the field. From the coaching with Arians and Leftwich, to obviously the offensive line, keeping Brady up as much as possible. And then that guy, Tom Brady, he's the greatest player ever. He might be the greatest athlete ever. And people are going to point to his interception number in the second half. We will talk about that, but for the first half he had, they got enough of a lead to where he could throw 3 picks and they would still get it done. But the Buccaneers' offense was exceptional. They had a few drops, especially late in the game. We'll talk about Evans a little bit later, but Brady knew what he was working with. They had a great running game with Fournette to just pound it up the middle, and Ronald Jones, stretch it a little bit, but then go back to Fournette, who was able to make guys miss on the perimeter, which he's not really known for. And I think having an offense like that where you can utilize guys that not in their primary use, that's so valuable. But a real downfall in this game was the Packers' defense. I mean, we talk about it all the time. Oh, Rodgers has no help. I mean, they went 13-3 for a reason. It's not like he has no help. I mean, Brady was just able to dissect it, and okay, we're gonna stop sugarcoating it. Tom Brady attacked Kevin King all game. You're seeing it all over social media. Kevin King, burnt, fried, cooked, toasted, grilled, whatever. He was less than stellar, and that is putting it quite nicely. The first touchdown, he jumps way too early. That's the Evans fade on the first drive of the game. He jumps way too early, Evans touchdown. He's involved in the piss-poor tackling effort to bring down Leonard Fournette on his touchdown. And then he drops an interception goes right through his hands near the end of the first half, which leads a couple plays later to, the Buccaneers having, I'd say, 6 seconds left on the clock, and Kevin King getting absolutely toasted by Scotty Miller. That play is unexcusable. The other three, it's like, okay. I mean, you shouldn't jump that early. The tackles, whatever. You should have caught the ball, but this play is inexcusable. I don't know why you're not 20 yards back. Buccaneers have 6 seconds and no timeouts. So they're going to have to go really fast towards the sideline on a quick out to maybe Evans. I think he was lined up. He was split out, and I was thinking they were going to go there. But then Scotty Miller just beats Kevin King over the top, and Brady with a perfect pass. I mean, you cannot ask for more. That is a perfect pass with time expiring on the half. Basically a Hail Mary. I don't know why the Packers weren't playing Hail Mary defense. I mean, you don't need 5 guys in the end zone, but you got to guard the end zone. I mean, Kevin King was maybe 10 yards off the ball. That's horrible. That's horrible technique as a defensive back. I play defensive back. You're lined up 15 plus, and your one goal is to not let a guy get behind you. And Scotty Miller gets behind him and finds a way to the end zone. And that is the play of the game. The Buccaneers get an absolute prayer at the end of the half, and they go up 18 at half. That's enormous. On the road especially. You got all these crackheads in Green Bay smacking their signs against the aluminum seats, and it's loud. But when you go up 18 after a debacle like that defensively, those fans are absolutely silent. And then you get the ball to start the second half. Excuse me, it's not 18 yet. It's not up 18 yet. Because you get the ball in the second half, Jones turns it over. What are you doing, man? What are you doing? I mean, I think it's Mike Edwards hit him just the same earlier. That's the second time that's happened that game. The first time he fumbled, Tunyon was there to pick it up. Edwards goes low, leads with the shoulder, pops the ball loose. Happens earlier, they get it back. This time they're not that fortunate. Devin White's able to scoop it up and take it to the red zone. I mean, Jones and Edwards at this point in the game, they're both out for the game after that play. Mike Edwards, very great play. I mentioned the 2 physical hits, but he was exceptional in replacement of Antoine Winfield Jr., who was out that game. But then, I mean, you give Tom Brady the ball in the red zone, and it's just, he hasn't thrown a red zone interception all year. I just jinxed him for the Super Bowl, so wait until the fourth quarter. He will throw a red zone interception in that game. But until now, I mean, hey, you don't want to give Brady the ball in the red zone. And then they go up 18, and I mean, Packers got to play catch up. And, if there's one thing that a Tom Brady team does, they don't kill themselves. They're not going to let you come back. They did, kind of. This is another thing that I wanted to talk about. Another reason that these two teams were separated so much was points off of turnovers. And that's big. That is big. Because the Packers had 3 interceptions in the second half, and I think they scored 3 total points. The Buccaneers had the interception at the end of the first half and the fumble from Jones, and they scored 14 points off of it. The difference in the game was 5. I mean, that's ridiculous. To have 3 turnovers and score 3 points to 2 to 14, that can't happen. That can't happen, Aaron. You got to put him in the end zone. I mean, Rodgers was good this game. His crunch time possessions were poor, but I mean, he put them in the position to win, and they just didn't get it done. I mean, you go for 2. It's in the breadbasket of Equanimeous St. Brown, and I think linemen catch that football. That is inexcusable. That's terrible. I mean, I love Equanimeous St. Brown. I mean, I can't even pronounce his name. But that's inexcusable. I could have caught that ball. Hell, my dad could have caught that ball. Like, come on, man. You got to make those plays in the big games, dude. Like, I mean, I'm rooting hard for Brady. You can tell I got my Pats gear on here. I mean, I'm rooting hard for Brady, so obviously I love it. But I don't think the Cheese heads liked it too much. And then the game continues. Brady pick. Packers don't score. Brady pick. Packers once again fail to score. But then we get to, one of the final drives of the game. There's just over 2 minutes left, and the Packers have first and goal from the Tampa Bay 8. I believe it is a 8-point game at this point. It's an 8-point game, and first and goal. Aaron Rodgers, incomplete pass. All right, still got 3 shots. Second and goal. Aaron Rodgers, incomplete pass. All right, we're good. We gotta convert here. Third and goal. Aaron Rodgers steps up in the pocket. He's got 2 things. He can sling it to Davante Adams, who's in the end zone. Blanketed a little bit, but you can fit that ball in there. They probably don't pick it off. Or he can take off to the right. I mean, we've seen the replays. There was ample space for Rodgers to get there. He cited that he had, a little bit of defensive pressure behind him, and he felt it. So he threw the ball. I mean, that's fine. That's what you're known for. You're on the run passing, your mobility, escapability. And you got Davante Adams. I mean, why not trust him? Me personally, I think you run that ball. People want to talk about, I mean, you're gifted. You can run, obviously. But I don't want to be that guy, but if I know anything about playoff football, Tom Brady scrambles that in. And yeah, he's a lot slower, but Tom Brady scrambles that in. Mahomes scrambles that in. We saw last week, Chad Henne scrambles that in. Allen obviously scrambles that in. But Rodgers doesn't. That's okay. It's not a bad decision. It's not like you're throwing at Allen Lazard or Marquez Valdez-Scantling. You're throwing to Davante Adams, who's one of, if not the best pass catcher in the game. And definitely the best route runner. Some of his jumps were incredible. Carlton Davis got absolutely schooled a couple times. That might have been SMB as well, but that's another story for another day. But then you got 4th and goal. LaFleur kicks the field goal. And I mean, it's a tough call. It's a very tough call, especially in the heat of the moment. Rodgers, he's missed 3 passes in a row. You got to go out there, trust your defense. You got the 2-minute warning and 3 timeouts. That's 4 stops of the clock to get a stop. But as that Tom Brady offense, Tom Brady's not going to give you the ball back with 2 and change. Come on, man. I think there was 2:02 left in that game when the Buccaneers started the drive. Brady's not giving it back. He's not. And that brings me to my final point here. Was this pass interference call, once again on Kevin King, in fact. If you don't think it was a pass interference, you are lying to yourself. You are an absolute buffoon if you don't believe that's a pass interference. Kevin King had a handful of Tyler Johnson's undershirt, and it stretched probably 4 feet. maybe not 4 feet, but a significant margin, you are an idiot to believe that that was not pass interference. However, you are not an idiot to believe that it should not have been called. I personally believe they made the right call. Absolutely. It's indisputable that it's pass interference. But you have to keep your register consistent. They weren't calling that all game, which is fine. But don't call it there. Obviously, the Buccaneers benefited. Brady benefited, so I'm not too pressed about it. They made the right call at the end of the day, but I think you got to keep your register consistent. All the Packers fans are whining about the pass interference in the first half. It was Sean Murphy-Bunting guarding Alan Lazard, and he had a little tug on his jersey. And Rodgers throws the pick the next play after that. So, whatever. What's 15 yards going to do if they're going to throw a pick? But, the call is correct, and nothing should be able to deter you from that. But you got to keep your register consistent if you're an official. That's all I got to say on that individual call. But Buccaneers win this game. I predicted them too. The night before I was at the basketball game, I said Bucks by 4. They won by 5. And Rodgers was salty after the game. We'll leave it at salty because I could use more choice vocabulary, but I'm going to refrain from doing so. He starts talking about, oh, there's a lot of guys who have uncertain futures here. Dude, just shut up. You lost. He says, including myself. You're not leaving Green Bay. Come on, dude. This team's given so much to you. And yeah, you're going to bitch that you don't have an elite wide receiver group like Brady, but if you're the most talented quarterback ever, you can make do with guys. Hell, Brady's favorite targets have been Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan, and Danny Amendola. Give me a break, Aaron. And then he's like, "Oh, it wasn't my choice to kick it on 4th and goal." Obviously, dude. But fact of the matter is, you missed 3 passes before it. So don't put all the blame on the floor. That's just he's just being a sore loser at that point. And obviously, emotions are running high. I get it, but just lose with grace and dignity, man. You guys went 13-3. Weapons clearly weren't a problem. Come on. That's a piss poor excuse in my opinion. But Buccaneers, first team ever to host a Super Bowl. Obviously, Super Bowl 55 is in Tampa Bay, and the Packers will be watching it from home, but the Buccaneers will be playing it at home. Let's move on to the next game. Moving on to the AFC Championship game, and I'm going to keep this one kind of brief. The Chiefs steamrolled the Bills. The first game, the Buccaneers had clear control. This was just utter domination by Patrick Mahomes and company. They've clearly been here before. 3rd straight AFC title game. Can't take that away. These guys are built for the big lights. Bills, this is their first year in the limelight, and, Allen wasn't exceptional. McDermott's play calling was suspect. Obviously you get out to the big lead. Not big lead, but you're up 2 possessions. You get the long field goal, and then, Hardman muffs the punt. You missed the PAT. It's a 9-0 game, and then it's the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill show from there. 3 of the best in the game, and it's pretty hard to argue against that. Bills just fell flat. I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but this Chiefs offense has too much firepower, especially with Mahomes playing, and it's not Henny. A lot of people thought the Bills had the best chance out of anyone in the AFC to compete with the Chiefs. Wow. I still agree with that statement, but the Chiefs felt like they had something to prove, and I don't know. They don't have anything to prove. That was just utter domination, really. Jeez, dude, that was ridiculous. I don't really know what else to say other than Patrick Mahomes is exceptional at his job, and the Bills just fell flat. I mean, Diggs dropped a few balls, yeah, over the course of the game, but then you get down to the second half, you're down by a significant enough margin, or you got to be rather aggressive in your play calling, and Sean McDermott really wasn't that aggressive in his play calling. I think that it plagued the Bills a lot. Their willingness to settle for field goals when you're never going to come back against the Chiefs by kicking field goals. That's unacceptable in my eyes. And, Sean McDermott, he's a great coach. I still my vote for Coach of the Year. Obviously, Stefanski's up there too, but you got to go for those. You got Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs for a reason. Let them make a play. If they score, great. Now you go for two, and we make this a competitive game. But, they just kicked field goals, and Mahomes ran the clock out. All the credit to the Chiefs. I mean, they utterly dominated the Bills. And if that game was any indication, I don't think the Super Bowl is going to be close either. I mean, Eric Bieniemy is exceptional at his job. I use those exact same words for Mahomes, but there's no reason Bieniemy shouldn't be a head coach next year. I mean, I know you want to keep guys in the system. Obviously the Eagles want to get as close to Frank Reich as possible. The Lions want Dan Campbell's mentality. Apparently, I mean, I guess he's built for Detroit. He's a lunatic, but another story for another day. Bieniemy should be coaching in the league. And, I get it's tough that, he's still coaching. It's hard to interview him. But, I mean, maybe wait a couple weeks because he is so good at his job. And I think he should be a head coach somewhere. But that air attack is lethal. Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill. Come on, that's like the best three-headed monster in the league. Maybe ever. Ever? Maybe. I mean, I think they're definitely up there because Kelsey's pretty much unguardable, especially when you put a linebacker. If you put a linebacker on him, he's too slow. If you put a cornerback on him, he's not big enough. It's the same thing with vintage Gronk. He's tough to bring down too. And then Tyreek Hill can beat anyone else in the NFL in a foot race. I mean, he's quick. To put it nicely, he's quick. And I think that ultimately, the Chiefs' offense has so much star potential. Not even potential. They just have so many stars that you've got to play nearly perfect defense to slow them down, and you have to play nearly perfect offense to beat them, neither of which the Bills did. And I know that, I expect to see the Bills back in this position, but, for it being their first year, it's difficult to face Mahomes in a not packed, but Arrowhead is going. The fans are cheering loud. I mean, they love the Chiefs. This is all they got in Kansas City. Barbecue is not as good as North Carolina, but this is what they got. They've got Patrick Mahomes. They've got football. And, they proved it. I don't feel like I'm doing the Chiefs a good enough service by, not talking about this game longer, but the Chiefs just killed them. I think it was a 14-point game in final. I predicted the Chiefs to win by 10. But, after the Bills went up 9, they were absolutely silent for the rest of the game. And, Allen takes that horrible 20-plus yard sack. I don't know what he's doing. And, the Bills were just outclassed this entire game. And it hurt to see because, Allen was my fantasy quarterback this year. He played awesome. I wanted to see him in the Super Bowl. But the reality situation is it is so very difficult to beat the Chiefs. And, they didn't do it. So it is what it is. And the Chiefs are back-to-back AFC champions. First time since Tom Brady, just a couple of years ago. I believe he went to 3 straight Super Bowls, and 3 out of 4. or excuse me, 4 out of 5 if we're being picky. A few years ago, but they could be the first back-to-back Super Bowl champions, not just contenders, champions since Brady in about 15 years ago. So lots of history on the line for the Chiefs, and obviously lots of history on the line for the Buccaneers. I mean, if Brady wins this Super Bowl on a different team away from Bill, number 7, against Mahomes, like come on. You can't write a case against that. Like, goodness gracious. I don't think it happens, but I have been taught in my life not to bet against Tom Brady. And, against my better judgment, I'm going to pick the Chiefs. I mean, come on. They beat the Buccaneers earlier this season. Tyreek Hill had, I believe, 13 catches for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns. It just doesn't even feel right saying it. Did I say 2 or 3 touchdowns? Because it was 3. Todd Bowles has to make an adjustment. He's got 2 weeks to figure out a defensive scheme that does not rely on man coverage. Because if they play man coverage, Patrick Mahomes is going to eat them alive, and this game is going to be over by halftime. That's just the reality of the situation. I mean, the quarterback play, you cannot ask for any more than Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. This is what we've been dreaming of, is Brady versus Mahomes again on the biggest stage possible. But in the end, it's going to come down to the 2 factors that it came down in the NFC Championship. Third down success and points off of turnovers. Those are 2 key factors in the game that both teams have really dominated this year. I mean, you even talk about the Saints game for the Buccaneers. They killed it on points off turnovers especially. So those are going to be 2 huge, huge factors for the Super Bowl. And I'm excited to see how guys like this perform. The Chiefs obviously did it last year, but the Buccaneers, they have such a young team. I'm excited to see how they perform in the Super Bowl, and I really hope I'm not let down. I really hope that it's a competitive game. But the Buccaneers are going to need to change something defensively to slow down this Godzilla behemoth of a Chiefs offense. I mean, they're nearly impossible to stop. And the Bills showed that it just wasn't happening. That's really it for this weekly recap. I'm going to do a couple more Super Bowl previews in the coming weeks because we've obviously got 2 weeks to wait until the Super Bowl 55 in Tampa Bay. But, that's pretty much going to be it for this video, guys. I will catch you in the next one. See you later. Peace.